That's the past, Mr. Douglas. What we want is your story of the present.
No, wait. Just wait. Are you truly Jack Douglas of Burleston Manor?
I am, sir. Leastways, I am now.
Then whose death have we been investigating these last 2 days?
And where the devil did you spring out from?
Mr. Mack, he wouldn't read that excellent pamphlet.
The history of the house. Of course.
Yes, it really is very informative. The architecture, the design, the gardens, the various owners, the concealment of King Charles during the Civil War.
Apparently, your people didn't hide in those days without reliable places to hide in.
And a bolt hole that's been used once can be used again. How long have you been playing this trick on us, Mr. Holmes?
Yes, how long have you let us waste our time and our efforts on a wild goose chase?
Not for one instant. It was only last night that I knew for sure that the dead man wasn't Jack Douglas, but your elusive cyclist. And that Douglas was almost certainly still in the house, waiting for quieter times and his chance to slip away.
Well, you figured it out right.
So is this still a murder investigation, or isn't it?
Mr. Douglas?
I don't know how I stand under your law, but I'll tell you this. There's been nothing in this business I wouldn't do again. And I think the same goes for Ivy and Cecil there.
We've done nothing we're ashamed of.
Nothing.
It all comes down to this. There are men who have good cause to hate me. They hunted me from Chicago to California, and they chased me out of America. But when I moved here and settled down with a new name and a new life, I thought they'd never find me. Well, I was wrong.
You saw one of these men when you went into Tunbridge Wells.
The worst of them all. But I know my business, Mr. Holmes. I made sure he didn't see me.
You came back here and waited for him to track you down.
I did. It happened a damn sight sooner than I was expecting. Still careless, Baldwin. Still careless. You see, I'd seen his boots under the curtain as soon as I came into the room. I don't know if it was him or me pulled the trigger. Maybe it was both of us together. Anyway, he got both barrels full in the face. He may have escaped the noose 20 years ago, but justice had caught up with him at last.
Were you the first on the scene, Mr. Barker?
I was. That much was true, at least.
Good God in heaven!
John, what's happening?
Ivy, don't come in! You did see the body. No wonder you couldn't bear to be in the room just now.
Yes, I saw it. I don't think I'm ever going to get that sight out of my head.
Come on, my love. Sit down now.
Oh, Jack, for God's sake, what's happening?
I'll tell you everything, I swear. I should have done it years ago, but not now. Are you going to be all right up here on your own?
That man, who was he? My God, who shot him? Was it you? Jack, was it you?
Ivy, listen, I've got to go and sort this out.
We must send for the police.
No, not yet.
Why not? Jack, I want to know what this all means.
You shall, but not now.
Yes, now. Tell me now.
I'll tell you this much. It's over. At last, it's over. I'd already had the idea. Yeah, I seemed to see it all clear at a glance. His height and weight were much the same as mine. No one could swear to his face, poor devil. And of course, he had the mark. The brand of the Scourers.
You exchanged clothes and therefore identities.
All except for my wedding ring. It would have taken a file to get it off. I was glad. That ring's all I've got left of my first wife. She died of the typhoid just a few years after we married. I'd not have given it to Ted Baldwin, even if it cost me the whole game.
You changed clothes and went and hid in the priest hole, and left your accomplice to do the rest.
It was simple enough. The footprint, the card, the shotgun.
The dead man's clothes, you bundled them up.
And got rid of them in the quickest, easiest place you could think of. The moat.
Man, if you hadn't used the dumbbell, we might never have been on to you.
And then, with everybody else safely out of the way, you rang for the servants.
But what about the housekeeper's evidence?
Perfectly genuine. Mrs. Douglas?
Cecil, Mr. Barker, gave me a signal and I came down the stairs again. I had to pretend that I'd just heard the shot.
Which you did well enough. It was your willingness to be led away from your husband's body that was less convincing.
So the murder, the shooting, actually happened quite a bit earlier than the servants thought.
Half an hour or so. It's not easy undressing a dead man.
Well, that's it. It seemed to me that all I had to do was lie low for a while, then I could get away someplace. Ivy could come out and be with me, and we could finally live at peace. A new life in a new land. That's the truth. The whole truth, so help me God. Now, what are you going to do with me?
Writing it up.
Getting my notes in order.
You're not using Douglas's own words.
More or less. But I gave him his manuscript back.
Oh.
I thought he ought to have it. It's an historic sort of document.
Well, I suppose so.
Certainly a splendid story. And with the right ending, too. Killing in self-defense. And just a mild warning about trying to deceive the police. Very satisfactory. Anything interesting in the post?
What?
Ah, that's how this whole business started, isn't it? Holmes? What's wrong?
They're on the Palmyra, bound for South Africa. A new life in a new land.
And?
Look at this.
My God.
Lost overboard in a calm sea.
No one knows how the accident occurred.
Accident.
Are you saying the Scourers did it?
Not the Scourers, Moriarty.
Moriarty? I'm sorry. I just don't see how he can be connected to all this.
The Scourers needed someone to track down Douglas for them.
And this Moriarty can be hired?
Yes, he's a consultant. His services can be bought just like any other consultants.
But even if you're right, the Scourers had their own assassin. Moriarty wasn't employed to kill Douglas.
Well, maybe not, but his power rests on his reputation. He can't afford to be linked to a failure. Besides, he's a mathematician. Mathematics is a precise science. Moriarty can't tolerate untidiness.
Dear God. And so he murdered him.
With my help.
What?
I killed Jack Douglas as surely as if I pushed him myself.
Oh, that is utter nonsense.
His plan was a good one. Mason and MacDonald would have accepted things at face value. Douglas's death would have been reported, and that would have been an end to it. If I hadn't insisted on solving the case, I'll triumph for Sherlock Holmes.
Rubbish! If this Moriarty's as good as you say is, he wouldn't have relied on newspaper reports. He'd have found out the truth for himself, even if you'd done nothing. The outcome would have been exactly the same.
I should have protected him, made him understand the danger.
Good God, Holmes! You're not some kind of infallible machine. You mustn't do this to yourself. You mustn't. Besides, you can't be sure, can you? Not absolutely sure. It may truly have been an accident.
The report's just come in, sir. A good, clean job. No complications. Nothing out of the ordinary in the luggage, except this. Some sort of manuscript. The Colonel thought you'd like to see it.
Thank you. My life in the Valley of Fear. I shall read it with pleasure. You may go.
Good night, Professor.
Good night. It was the 4th of February in the year 1875, and the snow lay deep in the gorges of the Gilmerton Mountains. This is the most desolate corner of the United States of America.
No, it was him. I can tell a Moriarty when I see one.
And do we just have to sit down under this? Can no one get level with this man?
No, I don't say that. I don't say that he can't be beaten. But you must give me time. You must give me time.
In Episode 2 of The Valley of Fear by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, Sherlock Holmes was played by Clive Merrison and Dr. Watson by Michael Williams. John McMurdo, Ian Glenn. Inspector MacDonald, Mark Bonner. White Mason, Timothy Bateson. Ivy Douglas, Becky Hindley. Cecil Barker, Gavin Muir. Etty Shafter, Amanda Gordon. Jack McGinty, Constantine Gregory. Ted Baldwin, Stephen Critchlow. Mike Scanlon, Peter Gunn. Captain Marvin, Jonathan Keeble. Ronald Pickup was Professor Moriarty. Other parts were played by members of the cast. The pianist was Michael Haslam. The violinist, Abigail Young. The Valley of Fear was dramatized for radio by Bert Coules and directed by Enid Williams.